Alex, you remember the story of January 2023 or 2022?
No.
There was a key moment in the Arsenal Twitter fan base where I would almost say we peaked.
January 22.
22, we were chasing Dusan Vlahovic, then get Vlahovic.
I disagree.
And then the Arsenal fans...
I immediately disagree already, because the peak of Arsenal Twitter is, to all Steve's followers, this is Steve's wife Bhavs. His final words were, Benzema, make of that what you will. That is, you will never top that for Arsenal Twitter.
No.
You will never top it.
I mean, there's a lot of moments to pick from, I agree. But I think for me, this is the peak because they were so desperate that anything would work. And there was a number plate driving around London conveniently near deadline day of a player that Arsenal were linked to. That number plate was, of course, Isak, Alexander Isak. And I just think that was a storyline that didn't quite work out. He obviously went to Newcastle instead. But look, there's rumours, Alex, now. And we need to talk about the rumours. Alexander Isak might be sold by Newcastle this summer because, of course, they're not going to make the Champions League football, not European football right now. They're in mid-table. And they need to, obviously, with FFP reasons, maybe sell a few players. And Isak is a player that comes to light, a player that Mikel Arteta has wanted, who used to work with Martin Odegaard. Talk to me. Is he a striker that, you're thinking wasn't quite an option for many people, but if he becomes one, you have to go for it?
Isak is my type of number 9, so I'm biased. I get that. And I want to talk around this a little bit and just sort of almost answer. I think there's a couple of questions. The first and foremost is, I think the biggest, rejection of him is his injury issues, which I get. I do get that. I would invite people to look at his injury record before he went to Newcastle, because it really isn't that bad. And I would then invite people to look at the Newcastle injuries in general. Go through that team. Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman's just done his ACL. Tino Livramento's had issues. Harvey Barnes has had issues. Anthony Gordon's had issues. Isaac's had issues. Bruno's had, Joe Linton. That whole team are constantly having issues. I don't know about Newcastle's medical staff. I'm not going to comment on them. I don't know that. But sometimes there can be an environment where decisions are being made that aren't conducive. If you're having that many injuries, you at least can't say that it's working as best it possibly could. And I don't think you can put it down to individuals when you're coming up against that many injuries for Newcastle this season. So I wonder, and we know from experience at Arsenal, we've heard stories and reports in Athletic that things at Arsenal, Jack Wilshere has spoken about it, that injuries weren't always handled in the absolute best way. And I think when you're having that many injuries, I do look at the environment at Newcastle and I go, I wonder whether there's something there. I don't know, but it's something, at least something worth looking at.
Yeah.
Then what I would say is I think Isak is massively underrated technically.
Yep.
There's a goal he scores against Everton that is a perfect example of it. I think it's against Everton. It's one that he goes he's like on the byline and he sort of wriggles his way through and scores.
I think it was an assist, I'm pretty sure, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
That clip. But massively underrated technically. Really, really good. Really good technically. And obviously has the kind of the stature that would make you think that he's not. But honestly, he technically you can fire a ball into him from anywhere, and I think he's got it. His movement outside the box is really good. I think he's been working on his movement in the box. He's a little bit wiry in his frame, but I think again you can add some pounds of muscle on. And what I love is that he can rotate both sides. He's equally comfortable going both sides, each side of the box, which I think in an Arteta system is really, really important. I really like this signing. I don't know on the price,
which is rare, I will say.
Yeah, I know, and I turned down a lot of rumours. But if this is, as there have been reports, Arteta's number 1 signing, I don't hate it. I think it's a really good option. I think if you look at what, maybe we can talk about this later when we come to what profiles we need in the summer. Forget a name for a second. What profile are we missing up front? What are we missing? We're missing a bit of an aerial threat, which Isak is and certainly can improve upon. We're missing a bit of a forward presence and someone who can lead the line and run the channels in a different way than maybe Havertz. Like imagine Havertz on the transition. He doesn't make that run to the front post. He just doesn't. It's not who he is. He's waiting to crash the box late. Isak is that guy who wants to lead the line, and we are missing that. And I think he could fit into a system where he is a little bit more flexible in terms of who comes central. So I really like it. The price is interesting. As I say, the injury stuff I have question marks about, but I like it.
Yeah, it's intriguing because, look, this season, again, his numbers are very impressive. 10 goals or 12 goals from an XG of 10.9, I think a 27% goal conversion. It was similar last year. That was my biggest concern with Isak. I remember watching a video about him during his time at Sociedad where he had a very good season, but then he had a very poor season the year after that, which of course we tried to sign him. And I think he had like 5 or 6 league goals. And I think someone speaking about him as a player was like, he would take his misses very personally. He's very emotional. And I feel like as a striker, you need to be very stoic. You need to be like, okay, this is the goal. I've missed the chance. Okay, I'll go again. Because Haaland misses the most chances, but he takes the most shots. Whereas I think with Jesus, sometimes, you can see him getting caught up in emotion. And I think Isak that was the fear. But seeing him play for Newcastle, he is so ruthless.
Yep.
I mean, and his celebrations can see it, but the goal against Man City this year, he just curled it, and the way he plays in general and the issues he can cause. I wonder though, do you think he can offer also that box presence that we always talk about? That difference maker inside the box, where I think outside the box, he's sensational. He's got that Henry-esque, frame where he can pick the ball up, he can knock it past the play, he's strong, he's quick. But inside that box where you can see Osimhen making that bursting run to the front post or a Haaland, do you think Isak's got that movement that Mikel Arteta would want?
I think it's something he's been working on. I do think the thing is like things you can and you can't teach, and I think you can't. And people say you can't teach, a poacher. You're like, you either got it or you don't. I think you can teach certain movements in a box and go right when and also. We know how Arsenal attack. We see constant attacking patterns over and over and over again. And if Isak can go, right, well, when Martinelli, think about that Martinelli goal assist for Havertz. When Martinelli's there, you need to be here and doing that. And Isak can do that as well, 100%. He's got an aerial presence. I think he could be that sort of that target as well. I think he could be someone that Havertz could play off quite well. Yeah. He's 6'3". I think he has that. He doesn't quite have that presence in the box, which is maybe what we're searching for. But equally, we spoke about this in a podcast for patrons, right? And YouTube members. We spoke about there's different ways of skinning the cat. In the end, Isak is not a profile we have. He's not what we have. So you can sit there and say we need a box presence. But if we can't get one, what do we do? Just not sign a striker? We can talk about Gyökeres and whatever, but I think the translation, maybe we can be on to Gyökeres, but the translation from moving from the Portuguese league to the English league is always a question. Isak has proved it, and he's 24. Yeah. He's also on 120k a week, which is not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, I'll take that. But what I think the main point I'm trying to make is more in terms of Isak is when you look at strikers like Haaland, you look at strikers across the world, the best strikers, you can see they have that quality, that raw quality where they're better than everyone else. And I obviously you talk about Arsenal fans and the players we get linked to, Ollie Watkins and players like that are very good players, but they're not the Haaland. They're not that special. They've not got that something special that maybe an Isak I think does have. Honestly, that quality of just. I remember seeing him at the World Cup, or the Euros, where he would just take on 4-5 players and make something out of nothing. And we've seen the comps comparing him to Thierry Henry, and I think in terms of the physique, I can hear it. He's not quite the finisher, of course, but listen, Henry was Henry until he arrived at Arsenal. So
and players develop, and it's about seeing that development opportunity. I think if I'm looking at him, I don't think there's this like. I think he's a good finisher, and I think he when he's given opportunities, he is pretty cold. But is he Haaland? No, but is there a
he's different,
a raw material there that we can work with and work on? I think there is.
If I was looking for a strike on the market, as much as you hear Osimhen and players like that, I'm looking for a mix of Jesus and Haaland, where he's got that clinical finishing, but he can take a player on and he can get involved.
Yeah. And
the burst. And Isak's got both. He's a very good finisher statistically, but also he's got the ability to pick the ball up and make things happen and take players out of a game. And in a Champions League, that's so important. One of Arsenal's most iconic goals in history was Thierry Henry picking the ball at the halfway line and just driving past players. And I could see an Isak doing something like that because he's got that raw physical strength and power. Whereas Osimhen, he could maybe get a little run in the box and score a goal, but I don't think he can do that. Yeah. Even though he's got quite a lot of power as well, to be fair to him. But yeah, of course, we have to talk about Victor Gyökeres as well, because 36 goals in 39 games and 14 assists. These are numbers that you just cannot ignore. And people say the Portuguese league, but look at the players that have come from there in the past few years. And I think have worked out in the Premier League, Bruno Fernandes being one. You got now Darwin Núñez starting to pop up for Liverpool. Ruben Dias, Edison, there's players from that Portugal that have come over and translated their form. Now, of course, there's been flops as well, but I think the Portuguese league is intriguing because we've just seen us against Sporting Lisbon. Not Sporting Lisbon, against Porto and Sporting last year. And they are competitive sides. They aren't poor quality teams. And those numbers, Alex, I know you're not really too short on the player because you don't watch them play, which is fair enough. But in terms of those numbers, are they too good to ignore? Surely you have to consider it.
Yeah, I as I say, I've watched more of Isak than Gyökeres. I need to have a look at him. But I look at our summer window and I look at where we signed from. And it was Brentford, Chelsea and West Ham. And the Premier League, the gap and the question mark of translation is bigger than ever. As you say, you can't ignore those numbers. I think he is maybe a bit more of that box presence. Maybe that Isak, as we say, is incredible outside the box, is a good finisher, but does he has that kind of, that ability that maybe Gyökeres has to just be there at the right moment? I don't know. But equally, it's very easy to sit here and say that when one's doing it in one league and one's doing it in another. The translation is the question mark. I don't know. I think, it's maybe an interesting story in trusting in talent and trusting in developing talent, because if you look at his story going through Coventry and then coming to Brighton, not quite getting the chances or whatever, I think he went somewhere else before Sporting. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is, a point there in trusting talent and trusting ability, especially with a striker coming into that middle part of their 20s and going, actually, that's really when you want to see, something. Obviously, everyone's different, but giving someone time to develop that sort of that aura that he clearly has. You look at him in Sporting, and you can see that system is designed for him. The goals that I've watched enough of him in terms of 90s, but the comps I've seen of him he's that guy at Sporting, 100%. Yep. The question is, does that translate to the Premier League? I'd need to watch him to get a sense of it. I'd like to see him in more European competition to get a sense of the level. I like the player. He has that kind of he's him type feel around him. But yeah, the translation is always the question.
He's got one very important thing as a strike, and it's not pace and it's finishing.
A good surname.
It's a celebration. He's got a celebration, and I need good celebrations. You had the Aubameyang flip, you have the Lewandowski one as well, and Haaland's got his, I think. But, with Gyökeres, I think there is something that I can't ignore as well. Just seeing the profile constantly pop up and seeing what he can do physically as well. He's got that power. And I think coming from the Championship as well, having done it there, we can't underestimate, the players that have come through that division the past few years. Jack Grealish, Jude Bellingham, players like that have come up to different leagues and thrive straight away. So I think there's a reason why also I look at him, and it's not just a rumour from fans. This is David Ornstein saying that Arsenal have looked at the profile and they appreciate it. Sure. So there's clearly a reason why, and I wonder who that player is going to be. If I could ask you a question right now, Alex, though, in terms of your personal feeling, not of rumours, not of anything else, if there is a striker that Arsenal, which we are going to get, I guess, in the summer, who do you think that player is going to be at your current feeling?
I would pull towards Evan Ferguson. Mm-hmm. I think my main feeling around the summer is this. We're now, and it was my feeling about Ryan Ramsdale last summer. We've got a really good squad, so improving it is not easy. It's not as simple as just do that, just do this, just go sign that player. It's not that simple anymore. Well, it never was, but it's certainly not that simple now. And
that's why United fans.
Yeah, exactly.
And Chelsea.
But yeah, so the question of what are we actually missing, being really specific about what, because we have so many brilliant midfield profiles, for example. Declan Rice, Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe, Jorginho, Havertz, they're all, Thomas Partey, different types of players, Mohamed El Neni, different types of players, players who do very, very different things. I think in the forward areas, here's what I'm missing. I'm missing a little bit of explosivity. I'm missing a little bit of X factor. I'm missing a little bit of inevitability. I'm missing a little bit of line leading height and aerial threat and presence in the box and attacking the 6-yard box in the way that Gyökeres does. And I think Isak could do and has done at times, but maybe it's less convincing. And I'm missing, I think that's what I'm missing. The question is where that comes from. It could be a million different things. It could be Saka and Martinelli's roles changing. It could be just signing a superstar winger. It could be signing that number 9, that classic number 9. I think I look at Evan Ferguson and I see a player who you do go and spend that 80, 90 million pounds on because I think he's that good. I think the age suits us because I think I don't think Arteta wants to rely on one goal scorer. I really don't. I don't think that's the longer I spend talking about Arteta and analysing him, the more I think if he wanted that, he would have done that. Like he would have done it. So, and unless there is the almost uncoachable inevitability of Erling Haaland don't go and spend that money on someone. You know, maybe Osimhen's there, but he might not be convinced. I don't know. But my feeling is Evan Ferguson is the profile that we most don't have. Once he turns and he's facing play just outside the D, he is unstoppable. He has that ability to work between sort of the edges of the box. His link-up play is okay. I'm particularly seen it fly, but you know, again, it's a different system. But once he turns and faces play in front of the centre backs, he will play a game-winning pass or make a game-winning action. It's like it's incredible. It's an incredible ability. If you go and watch comps of him, it just turns and he's there, and you can watch him. And yeah, it is amazing. And we don't have that height. We don't have that inevitability in that area, I don't think, of the pitch. And I think it could suit us well. What about you?
It could do. I mean, the feeling I have is it will be maybe a surprise. I don't think it's as a guarantee as last year's Declan Rice was. I don't think Osimhen's the guarantee or Gyökeres is. Isak's the one I really want. I just really want that. I really want that player specifically because, you know, having seen the way he's developed mentally and that ruthless finish he's become, that's the player I want the most. So if I could pick one, it'd be Isak. It's a feeling wise. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Isak, he's on the stories of returns.
Makes so much sense.
He's so technically good as a centre forward in terms of all those things: pinning your centre back, rolling your man, spinning out wide, coming inside, take it 1-2s. It's like all the sort of, you can see the coaching that's gone into him. As I say, I think he's a great finisher. Is there that 6-yard box kind of presence? Maybe not yet, but also that's okay, and that can be worked on. Which is my point. We don't have to have the finished article.
It's exciting for sure and very interesting future for Arsenal. Alex, I have a question for you, and that is who is going to be our most crucial player in beating Man City? But you're not going to answer it here, though. You can answer it on Patreon, which we have got a nice 45 and YouTube members, by the way.
Thank you.
I did get it. We've done a nice 45-minute podcast where we've talked about many things, answering your questions. So if you want to ask us any more in the future, comment down below. And of course, join Patreon and YouTube members. But as always, if you guys have enjoyed this video, smash a like, subscribe, and we will see you on Monday's massive 1-hour podcast.
Peace.
Peace.